should not be the last person you consult when you have problems. God should be the first person you contact when you have issues. The fact that you fail doesn't mean God has not spoken. People will already laugh at those who sees what they can't see. There are things you see, others cannot see. With you,
retirement, financial independence after retirement. I choose to speak on this morning. Is a course or is a subject that often at times is being treated in organizations or in my office as it is. And the reason why this is being shared with us is because study has proven over time that when the class of people in the secular world, when they stop working, their lifespan becomes very short. When they stop working, activities of their life becomes dead. And many at times, over 60% of them dies out of boredom. So that became a talking point, right? Where we have been counseled, we have been talked to, so that we can prepare for a life after retirement. So I use the word financial independence. And what does financial independence mean? Can somebody help us? Financial independence. Yes. Madam, I thought you wanted to say something. Okay. Financial independence. Just say something. Financial independence, simply put, is the ability for you to have enough. Ability for you to have enough after retirement. You are financially independent of nobody. Ability to have enough after retirement. And what is retirement? Right? When somebody stops active work. When you retire from active work. Okay. Financial independence after retirement. Let me just say one or two things. Like I say, financial independence, right, or retirement. Okay, let's start with retirement. I'll just define financial independence. Retirement is when we stop active work, right? In the secular world, we have types of retirement. I will not go too deep into that, right? We have the compulsory retirement in offices or secular world. We have the voluntary retirement, and we have the mandatory retirement. We have the compulsory retirement, where somebody is ill health, where somebody is asked to leave a place of work out of gross indiscipline, right? Out of inefficiency and the likes. So you are compulsorily asked to leave. Then voluntary retirement, where you on your own, you choose to step aside. On your own, you choose to say, oh, I don't want to work any longer for anybody. I want to do my own business. That's fine. Then we'll have the mandatory retirement. This is an act, right, in the federal government constitution, that when you hit the age of, or when you work in a service, in an institution for 35 years, after that 35 years, you are expected to retire. Or when you hit the age of 60 or 65 in some cases, then you'll be asked to retire. So even if you work for 20 years, but you are now 60 or 65, you'll be asked to retire. So life after that retirement is the concern now. How financial independent will you be? Will I be, right? When you get to 60, 65. When that's your energy, your muscle, your strength cannot carry you at that period. So there are precautions that we need to put in place. There are plans that we need to put in place, right? There are counselings that, if need be, you may need to attend so that you can actually plan for life after retirement. Like I said, it's so serious that over 60% of these people pass on. So when they retire at 60, 65, before the next 5 years, 7 years, 60% of them passed on, right? So while you are active, while you are working, it's good to have a side hustle. That brings us back to the School of Wealth Creation. That brings us back to all the series of classes we've had, right? That brings us back to all the discussion or the admonishment Papa has been passing to us. And eventually we are passing to you guys too. We too, we have some other people that are passing to us, right? I will advise we take this seriously because it's real, it happens. I will advise that it is never too late to do it, right? If you're in the circular wall, it's compulsory, you must do it because they deduct it from source. And if you're in the circular wall, for example, I think we do about 18%, right? So I'll pay 8% from my salary and my employer will pay 10%. So at the end of each month, a sum is kept aside, right, in our RSA, Retirement Savings Account. Also, in the business world, if you're not in the circular world, federal government in 2019 also enacted an act, right, that make provision for business people, right? And that is it micro pension fund? Micro pension fund. That enable, I'll go into that in details, that actually enable you as a business person, as an entrepreneur, right, to still have such savings, right? That just came up like 2-3 years ago after realizing that the people in that particular space, no provision was made for them. Okay, so I mentioned the 3 types of retirement, right? And also, why do people resist dealing with the issue of retirement? Why is it anytime you talk about retirement? Papa jokingly said last week, not jokingly, he said last week, that you hear people changing their date of birth, people swearing affidavit after affidavit, right? It's because of issues like this. So they want to remain younger in the system, even when they are 65. Their CV is still reading that they are 45, right? And like I said, the reason is because of retirement. So when it comes to retirement, people resist dealing with issue. One of the issues, or one of the points, or one of the reasons why they don't, is because they don't want to admit they are getting old. They don't want to admit that they are aging. Also, the economy did not make it easier for them. Because if you say it as is, then you find out that probably in the next couple of years you'll be asked to retire, right? So the fear of aging is an issue. Now, when you fail to prepare for retirement, you'll be reluctant to retire. When you fail to prepare for retirement, you'll be reluctant to retire, right? So even when you are 65, you are still in the office. Even when you are 70, your CV is saying you are 49, right? You are still in the office. And like Papa said too, that is actually even depriving the younger ones that finish school, that are looking for a job, because the older ones have refused to let go. So vacancies are not coming. Also, the fear of facing the plain truth. When you are aged, you are aged. Right? The fear of facing the reality that, oh, you are 65, you are not as strong as you were when you were 30 years old. You are not as strong as you were when you were 19 years old. Right? So that fear makes people do not want to discuss, do not want to, or make people resist retirement. Also, when you lack alternative source. So I come back to the strings of income, right, or wealth, which is being preached over and over again. And the reason for all that, so that you can have other resources, right? You can have other resources where you can make money from. Okay, like I said, is a broad subject that actually requires counseling. In the Western world, right, even in the secular world, they counsel them when it comes to this retirement. Because age at 70, God help you if you're not financially buoyant, you know what I mean, right? It could be very terrible. In the offices, we see men over that age still come hustling, still come dropping their proposals, right? And you begin to imagine, right? If you go to the marketplace, to some business, you see men that are very aged, women that are very aged, and they are still hustling today, right? Yes, all fingers are not equal, but it's still because there was no proper planning, there was no counseling. Nobody told them that, oh, see, when you get to that particular age, life will not be as sweet as it was 20, 30 years ago. I'd like to share these quick statistics with us, which says that, okay, here I said the pre-retirement counseling, right, simply put, is a program designed to reinforce the employee desire and ability to plan for his retirement constructively. Employee desire, right, or ability to plan his retirement after retirement, as it is. Now, survey, this is a fact now. Survey has proven that only 4% will possess adequate income. Only 4%. So if you have a workforce of 1,000 people, right, only 4% will be financially adequate. Only 4% will be financially independent. 5% will struggle to make ends meet at 65 years old. 5% will struggle, while only 4% will be financially independent. 36 would die in service. 54 will be broke, penniless, and dependent on others. So I was calling 60, so 54, exact. 54 will be dependent on others. So in a workforce of 1,000, we're looking at 540 will be dependent on others. And this, in that bucket, right, you see an average parent training their children and hoping and relying that at old age, those children will be the one to cater for them. Yeah, it's not far-fetched, it's not bad. However, I remember too, there's a portion in the Bible that says we should leave wealth or inheritance for our children, right? So if you look at those two contexts, where the Bible is asking you as a parent to leave an inheritance, you, a parent, you are training for the child to take care of you, right? So there are two different things. However, this is what it is today, right? Okay, so, and also, only 1% of this entire group will live healthy or wealthy. So out of 1,000 people, only 1% will live very, very comfortable. 54% will be penniless and be dependent, right? 5% will be comfortable. They are not broke, but they are just okay. While only 1% will live. So if you do that quick arithmetic on your brain, you realize that there's a need for us to be successful. There's a need for us to adhere strictly to the teachings that Papa shared with us, that we all shared from the pulpit or from this class. Because it's not going to be funny if now you are still struggling, and when you get to 65, 70, you can imagine what will happen then. If now you are still trying to be dependent on one or two persons, then you can imagine how life will be when you get to that level. So if currently you are within between 40 and 50, if currently you are within 40 and 50, then you have some good number of years ahead of you, right? And if you don't have a plan, start planning towards it. If you are younger, the better the advantage for you, right? If you start planning it, you will enjoy it at the end of it. Also, if you are younger and you are into a business, like I said, the federal government will have made provision for business people, right? Which is the micro pension fund. You can Google it. the micro pension fund, it enables you save your money. And the beauty of it is it's not just like a bank account where at any time you can go and withdraw money, right? Okay, so let me talk on the circular and the business. So in the circular world, until you hit 60 before you can have access to that money. Right? So whatever is being deducted from your salary for the past 10, 15 years, depending on the number of years you worked, until you hit 60, that's why you can have access to that money. And your first access to that money is even 40%. They are trying to manage the money for you. In between the number of years you've been working, yes, they invest your money into treasury bills, all the financial instruments, and they give you interest, right? Now, if you lose your job, right, within, 4 months, if you've not gotten anything, you can have access to, 25% thereabouts of whatever money they have saved. So that is for circular guys. Now, if you are in the business world, if you save your money, because you're a business person, you will be eligible to have 40% of your savings at any time you need it. You'll be eligible to have 40%. That's all that you can get, right? Like I said, these are all control put in place so that people do not just have access to the fund like you do in your savings account or your current account. I'll ask questions, please. So let's take notes. Okay. So like I did mention, also there's a saying that says, he who fails to plan, plans to fail. It's a popular saying. We all say it among ourselves, between ourselves. We actually play with it. But in reality, it's a fact. And also, like I said, where do you belong in these 5 buckets I just mentioned? Where do you belong? Are you in the group of the 4%, right, which are who have adequate income? Are you in the group of the 5% who struggle to make both ends meet? Are you in the group of 54% which will be broke? Or are you in that group of 1%? So which group do you think you are or you will be, right, at retirement? It is not by chance, it is by choice, what category you fall into, right? So it's when you do a proper planning that you can actually fall into one of those categories. If you plan well, if you don't plan well, one of those categories awaits us in the next couple of years, as it is. So I also say that retirement planning is all about ensuring that when your salary stops, retirement planning, when your salary stops, you have an income source to take care of your monthly expenses. Monthly expenses. Do you know that some expenses that, whether you are working or you are not working, you must incur them, right? Even if you are in your personal house, right, there are some expenses that you cannot defer. They'll always be there. Whether you generate money, you do not generate money. A typical example is your NEPA bill. If you must have light at old age, you must pay that NEPA bill, or you must buy the recharge card and load it on your prepaid meter. So meaning if you do not have money, you will suffer from that particular aspect. And it won't be nice that all your neighbors have lights and you don't have lights. So those are recurrent expenses. They are constant care. They will always be there. We have some other expenses like that. I'm not going into all that. But so you must make money to meet those expense as it is. Also, there's a rule of thumb as a fact again now, right? That an easy rule of thumb says that you will need to replenish 70 to 90% of your pre-retirement income to live a good retired life. I'll take that again. 70 to 90% you must replenish. So you must replenish, okay, let's even peg it at the minimum. You must replenish 70% of your pre-retirement Pre-retirement means now that you are active, you must replenish 70% of that income you are making now after retirement for you to live in bucket one. Bucket one is the 1% that will live adequately, right? Now you must generate at least 70% at 65 years and above for you to live comfortable. You are not wealthy, but you are comfortable. You meet your obligations at when due. So you can imagine, if you are hustling now and you are struggling. Imagine after retirement, you must do at least 70%. So let me give us a typical example. You do 100,000 naira every month, or you earn 100,000 naira every month. So it's saying that at age 65, after retirement, as the case may be, you should be able to do 70,000 naira every month to meet your expense. And you know, at old age, we require more medical attention, right? So you need to generate at least 70% of that income you did when you are very active for you to live comfortable. So why do we need retirement planning? Why we need it, right? Like I've mentioned them, medical emergencies, inflation, the currency inflation. The 1,000 naira you have today is not the same 1,000 naira you have after 2 years. In short, in Nigeria itself, after the next 1 month, the value of that 1,000 naira is not the same, right? Okay. I mentioned there that nuclear families, long gone are those days when the elderly could rely on the monetary support from a big family. Gone are those days when the aged will be dependent on another brother, another sister somewhere. So what it is today, you see that it's just the children and their mother and the children and their father. So it's more of a nuclear family, right? It's the children trying to reach out to their parents, as the case may be. So those are the reasons, among many, why we must think of retirement after all the hustles. Why we must be financial independent after all the hustles we are hustling now. Now, 7 ways to prepare for retirement. Among many, 7 ways that you can start thinking of how you can manage your resource. Is it downsize your debt? Downsize your debt. Are you someone that's always owing money? Right? Well, there's nothing wrong in owing money, so I will explain that. If you owe money for a purpose of a business, like the financial institutions will want to know, will want to see your visibility study before money is given to you, right? There's nothing wrong in owing money. Now, something will be wrong if you owe money for luxury spend. Something will not make sense if you owe money for, let me use the local parlance, for flangeoring, right? Something will be wrong with that. But if you owe money and you use it as you need to use it, as you ought to use it, then it is fine. So, but you need to downsize your debt. So if you are in the bucket of people that will collect money for flangeoring, it will tell in your old age, right? And it will deprive you of trying to save because you'll be servicing the debt. It will deprive you from trying to save. Consider your future medical costs, which I've said again earlier on, and the likes like that. Also, if you take a time out, go to Google again. I make reference to it because these materials are gotten from there, right? In that your smartphone, you can actually Google retirement income calculator. It's a calculator that you can punch in some amount. Say, okay, right now, this is what I earn, right? What am I expected to have at age 65 and above, right? You can punch in the figure, what you are earning now as a business person, or what you are earning as a salary person. It will tell you the expectations. If you can meet the expectation, it's a different ball game now. But at least it will tell you, oh, Emmanuel, you are required, for you to be comfortable, you are required to have such amount of money. You are required to save such amount of money from what you earn, right? So it's a reference point. You may want to look at that. It's an app that you can download and have it in your smartphone. So at any time you can just puncture it and you can see. Retirement from work or from hustling or from business is inevitable. Plan to make your retirement the start of a new life. Plan to make your retirement a start of a new life, right? And use your experience, your abilities, and your matured personality to build a rich and rewarding future. Use your experience that you have acquired while you are hustling, right? Your maturity at old age, and build a better beginning. Retirement is a journey and not a destination. Retirement is a journey and not a destination. Okay. Okay, so I'll pause here and let's discuss. You want to say something? Okay, I just mentioned 2 out of. How many did I mention? 3. Okay, so 7 ways to prepare for retirement, right? Make sure you diversify. Make sure you diversify and make sure you diversify. Diversify here means make sure you have streams of income, like Papa will put it. Make sure you have streams of income, right? So don't just, mostly for a circular worker, most of us are just fixated with our work, right? It's just all about the work. So when the work comes or when the work goes, we find that we are in a different world, right? So for we to have been guided to diversify. So you see even corporate workers having side businesses, right? It's all in preparation towards any day the job can, the institution can say, oh, it's time to move on, right? Moving on is not the end of your life. So you must move on and fall back on those things that you already built over time. Also, like you will know very well, it's not easy. It is never easy for you to stop work and all the benefit that are paid to you, you want to go and jump into a business. So we are rather advised, build that business gradually so that you get to understand the business, so that even when you leave the job, right, you're not just going to pack all your millions and go and pump into a business you do not understand. With time, you have understood the business and you can actually build yourself from that. Okay, so that is one point. Let me give you the others. Okay, take full advantage of your retirement account. Take full advantage of your retirement account, especially catch up with contributions. Like I said, even in the circular, for example, if my monthly contribution, both my and the organization, is 10,000 naira, right? The pension fund has made it open for you that you can actually ask to increase your monthly contribution. So I can say, okay, this is my monthly contribution. Okay, I think they call that on VC. I can have a voluntary contribution, which I do. It can be the same 10,000 naira. I can even make it 20,000 naira because I'm the one that's planning for my old age. So I could just put any amount I want that I know I can accommodate at the end of each month. And that will be additional contribution to the initial one that my employer contributes. Right? So that is the advantage. I take that advantage. Then I said, downsize your debt. I've said that. Then calculate your retirement income. That's why I made reference to the calculator. Then estimate your retirement expenses. Right? And consider future medical costs. Plan where you live. So let me expatiate on that. Plan where you live. when you are still active, because you have good income, you choose to stay in, let's say, Lekki, for example, right? And after you become retired, now, you still choose to stay in Lekki. For some people, it could be fine, right? And for some other people, it may not be. So I'll explain those two categories now. Also, so if you're in Lekki and you have your house in Lekki, you are staying in Lekki, it's fine. But also you know that the cost of living in Lekki is higher, right? The same matches you buy for 15 naira here, probably in Lekki is 100 naira. So common sense will be telling me that, okay, at retirement, if I am going to depend on my streams of income, if I'm going to depend on that 70% I want to generate at that particular point, why not relocate to Okokomaiko, for example, where the cost of living will be relatively cheap compared to. Now, if you are in category 1, where you are comfortable, there's no problem. If you are in category 5, where you are very healthy, wealthy, there's no problem. You can stay in Lekki. So common sense will actually, you are planning for your old age now, right? You are madam, oh, why do I need to be in Lekki? Why do I need to be in a highbrow area? Why don't I come to a more local place and stay? So that is that category of that bucket. Now, if you are in Okoko and you are in a rented house, you are staying in a 3-bedroom flat because you are working, you are doing well, and retirement has come, either compulsory, voluntarily, or mandatory, right? Either of these buckets, and you still choose to stay in 3-bedroom flats where you are beginning to struggle to pay your rent, then it's not making wise any longer, right? So why not look for a 2-bedroom self-contained, right? Why not look for something smaller, right, that you can accommodate, right? So those are the two buckets regarding plan where you live at retirement. Okay, I think that's about that on this. So questions and answer, we have 15 minutes. Or contribution regarding this subject. Okay. Before, if you don't have any, I'll ask you. But let's take note of these biblical references that make reference to retirement too, right? I see the books of Numbers 8, 24 to 26, which says, now regarding the descendant of Levi, who is 25 years and above, he is to enter work in service at the appointed place of meeting. But starting at 50 years of age, he is to retire from service and no longer work. So the Bible is even saying 50 years, right? But whatever it is, in each country, right, it constitutionally differs. So I know in our constitution today is between 60 and 65, right? I think 60. So there is time to work, there is time to retire. So the admonishment this morning is, after retirement, how will your life look like, right? That's just the message. Also, you want to check the book of Psalm 71, 6 to 19, which says, Lord God, I will come in the power of your mighty art, remembering your righteousness, yours alone. God, you taught me from my youth, so I'm still declaring your awesome deed. Also, when I reach old age and have gray hair, God, do not forsake me until I have declared your power to this generation and your mighty to the next one. Right? So the point is, even the Bible recognizes, or God recognizes, there's a period for old age. I still have one or two. Psalm 71, 5 to 9 to make reference to that. So I have one or two quotes here I'd like to share too. It says, you are never too old to set a new goal. or dream a new dream. You are never too old to set a new goal or dream a new dream. Preparation for old age should begin not later than will not suddenly become filled with retirement. At old age, preparation, okay, I'll take that again. Preparation for old age should begin, not later. Preparation for old age should begin and not later. Okay, so on the micro pension fund, which I say for business people, micro pension fund, like I did say, in 2019, federal government came up with that act, right? And to consider those that are not in the employment cycle. The features of that pension fund, micro pension fund, one, you can contribute daily, you can contribute weekly, you can contribute monthly. And at any time you think you have some money. It's like a bank account. You have the account, and you can just go and pay at any time you desire. Also, like I said, 40% of it can be withdrawn for contingency plan. Right? 40% of whatever you save can be withdrawn. So unlike the circular wall, where except you lose your job, or you retire in whatever bucket, or except you hit 60 or 65 years. But in the micro pension fund, you can have access of 40% of your fund at any point in time. And you can just get registered just by visiting any of the pension fund office, right? And they can take you in. All right. I think that's all from me this morning. So we'll have the next 10 minutes for contributions or answer. Okay, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your teaching. There is one evil I have seen among footballers. Footballers that we on TV. You see, sometimes I hear some of them are bankrupt. And some of them even go up to the extent of blaming the government, that the government has abandoned them after they have finished playing football. But each time I hear their stories on the news, one question that I ask myself is, the millions that these people acquired or earned, because some of them, they play this football abroad, what did they do with it? It's a question I find very hard to do. Now, I want us to look at it this way. If you want to live a life free from financial stress, how much are you spending now currently? How much are you using to take care of your household? Now that you are working and you are active, there should be something on ground for you to be able to get money from when you are retired or when you are no longer free. Because it is evil for you to be insulting your children that they did not give you money at old age. It is not their fault. Your work was you were supposed to take care of your children. And if they like, they can give to you out of the love you show to them. But not yoking them. Because by the time your children get married, they have their own families to take off, they have their own stress to go through. You now come and add your own burden to it and say your children did not take care of you. Now, the reason is because you did not, no proper planning was done for retirement. How much do you earn now in a month as a government worker? If today the government tell you, stop, or they retrench you, God forbid, will you still be able to spend the same amount of money that you are spending now? It's a question that you need to work on. Because it is of no use blaming people that they did not help you when you refuse to buy. You see, this class has been on for years now. And Papa has been talking, preaching, teaching, have the multiple stream of income, have this, and most of us, we are not taking him the way you know, we are not serious with what he's teaching. It is at old age that it will dawn on most of us that what he was teaching, he was preaching the truth. So I want to encourage us, whatever amount you are, if you are earning 150,000 now, have you set up a business that you can get 150,000 from? If you were not to be doing that same work for government, or if you were not to be working for somebody, that is just what I want to answer.
Thank you, sir. That's a food for thought. Like I said, you can still have that calculator, retirement income calculator. You can get it from your smartphones. And what that calculator will guide you, like I said, to know how much you need to retire, to guide you and tell you how much you need. Depending on how much you punch on the calculator, it can give you an estimation of how much you need, right, to have at retirement. It will, if you go to that same platform, it can tell you how you can save for retirement. How you can save for retirement. Also, how long your money will last. So, like you said, if you earn 150, like I did say earlier on, you must try and generate 70% of that 150 for you to live comfortably at age 65 and above. A 70% of 150 from the top of my head could be around 90,000, 100,000, right? So the food for thought, if you are this strong now, very able, very agile, and you make 150,000, what do you have on ground that can generate 100,000 or 90,000 or 110,000, right? At age 65 and above. Like I said, it's a food for thought, as it is for me. Right? Maybe that is what prompted me doing what I do, right? Because I begin to. This is not. It's taken for granted in the system that when people finish their career, they'll stay in less than 10 years. They all passed on. I just showed you that 54% of them will remain penniless and broke. So out of 1,000 people, 36 will die. 54%, which is 540 people out of a bucket of 1,000, will be penniless and dependent. Only 1% will live okay. Only 1% will live comfortable. So it's a food for thought, right? Many of us probably have not thought along it. We are just hustling, and as the money comes, you are spending it accordingly. It's fine. But think of, in the next 20, 30 years, where will you be? How will life be with you? Right? Will you still be calling your children, even when they are struggling to make their own end meet? Unfortunately, if they are in that position. Yeah, probably if you have a child that is very wealthy, there's nothing wrong. You'll be proud as a father, as a mother, that, oh, this is my handiwork, right? But if it is a reverse situation, like he said, you start swearing for the children and start making comparison. Because even you as a parent did not plan, did not even bother to even leave inheritance for the children, first and foremost. And you did not plan for your own retirement. So you're not pushing the pressure on the children because you want to be comfortable. And that won't be fair on we parents, on our children. Right? So even if you cannot leave retirement, inheritance, as the Bible has demanded from us, is a bad case already. Now to not be dependent on the children, you are now making it worse for the children, right? That will not be our portion in Jesus' name. That's all I have for you guys this morning. And any other question or contribution on financial independence after retirement? All right. So can I ask a question? I have 2 minutes, right? I still have 2 minutes. Madam? Hello, madam. Yes, thank you, ma'am. Can you assist me with this? I mentioned 3 categories of retirement that could happen in a workplace, in a circular world, for example. All right. You can check your note. I don't have a problem with that. You can check your note if you have to check your notes. Can you? Yes, ma'am. So I mentioned 3 categories of retirement. You could just mention one. Okay, thank you, ma'am. She mentioned all three, which is compulsory retirement. Compulsory retirement is because you are not doing well at office and they ask you to go. So you are being forced to go, right? That's one bucket. The second bucket is voluntary retirement. Oh, I'm tired of working 4 o'clock every day, right? I'm coming back by 9 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock by night. I've opened my own little establishment and I said, oh, EcoBank, I want to resign. So I voluntarily resigned, right? Then the other one is the mandatory requirement that when you hit, well, if you work for 35 years in a service, you are required to move on. If not 35, if you work 20 years and you have hit 60 years, you are required to move on, right? So in these three categories, right, you must plan for it. Okay, you must plan for it because it will eventually come. For each person, it's just a matter of time. So like I did say too, if you are younger, you have an advantage. Oh, I am not in a secular world. I do business. You have age at your side. I just talked about micro pension fund. You can still save your money. And I also say that the beauty of it is that you cannot have access to that money. Because these accounts that we all open, that we all have, because it's a check account or a current account, it's a savings account, you have your ATM, you have your mobile app, it's easier for you to spend those money. I did talk about financial discipline in this class some times ago too, right? There are some people that have all this app and ATM. Some people have 2-3 accounts. And what they do to discipline themselves is that those accounts they want to use for saving, they don't link it to the app. They don't link it to the ATM. You know, they don't link it at all. So that no matter how constrained you are, right, you will not just go to an ATM and plug it and collect your money. So they leave it in a normal savings account. And for you to have a challenge over a weekend, and you're able to manage it till on Monday, and wanting to go, and the need for you to go to a banking hall to go and withdraw that money, before that Monday, you might notice that somehow you resolved the issue. Now, if you need to go, then it's very necessary. It's meaning you cannot do without actually going to, okay, thank you, sir. It's very necessary that you must get it. So the point is, we have talked about financial discipline. I think I took a part 1 and part 2, I remembered, right? And I've talked on retirement after all the hustling. It's very necessary. Let's take notes. Whatever we're doing, let's plan for our retirement. Thank you very much.
That business cannot die. May it be unto you according to your faith. Jesus came and he did not only suffer.